Hey guys, Coach A here for At Home Fitness with Coach A. I was coaching up a Saley last night, so I got my hat here. Welcome to the YouTube channel that brings you guys in-home quality coaching and workouts for your at-home and garage gym needs. We do. It is day number 174. That makes today Saturday, September 5th, and you know what Saturday is. Super sucky Saturday. That's a super sucky thumbs up. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so super sucky Saturday means today is going to be a long, terrible workout. And as usual, I try and program this for people to do or at least find a relatively easy modification variation at a track or some kind of outdoor environment like that. Today kind of works that way. If you guys have a pull-up bar in a park, it's probably a pretty easy one to do there. Otherwise, a track might require some small modifications unless there are some bars hanging that you guys can do pull-ups on. So today's workout is called Daniel. It is for time, and it's going to kind of go up and down. The first piece is going to be 50 pull-ups, kip strict, up to you guys. The second piece is a 400-meter run. The third piece is 21 thrusters. These are barbell thrusters for the RX or as prescribed programming. Keep in mind, this was not written by me. This was written by somebody to commemorate Daniel. The 21 thrusters in 95-65. At the peak of the pyramid is going to be an 800-meter run. And then we're back down to those 21 thrusters at that weight, 400-meter run, and finally the 50 pull-ups again. All right, so if you want to see exactly how to do this stuff and my options and ideas for modification, stick around and I will take you guys out to the garage gym. Oh man, who's ready for another super sucky Saturday? Today we are doing Daniel, another CrossFit Hero workout, and it's possible to do this one at a track, although admittedly it's way more challenging. So we have essentially three different movements. We have pull-ups, we have running, and we have thrusters. Thrusters are going to be prescribed with a barbell, but obviously we'll have modifications for that. You're going to start with 50 pull-ups, you're going to do a 400-meter run, you're going to do 21 thrusters, and you're going to do an 800-meter run. And then we're going to work back down as if though that was a pyramid to the 21 thrusters, the 400-meter run, and the 50 pull-ups. Now, it's important to note, these pull-ups are prescribed as kipping, non-strict, okay? So unless you guys are very good at strict pull-ups, this is going to be a completely different workout if we're kipping them versus doing them strict versus doing them with a band, etc., etc. So if that is the case and you're not able to kip your pull-ups, I would suggest transitioning that to some sort of row. All right, that kipping pull-up round, we're probably looking at this was an in-class workout, and I was coaching this. I would probably look for no more than about, at the very most, 3 to 4 minutes, right? If we can't do it in 3 to 4 minutes, then we probably don't have the comprehension of the movement enough to make this safe to do it at both bookends. All right, so looking at 50 pull-ups to start, and then I'm taking off on my 400-meter runs. Now, the second one inside, let's call it, so the non-running movement, is going to be a barbell thruster. We're looking at 21 reps, which is, decent set, or I should say big set or a decent couple sets for most people. But that weight of 65 pounds should be something that you guys can move through smoothly pretty well, right? We're squatting, we're up overhead, we're squatting, we're up overhead. We can maybe even be conversational with that, the kind of weight, the kind of intensity is for at least a couple reps, maybe upwards of about 10 reps or so. And then we're probably focusing a little bit more on our breathing patterns so that we're not getting crushed. But the point of that discussion is that the weight shouldn't be heavy enough that it's kind of putting you in a hole. So if 65 is heavy and challenging for you, we probably need to bring that weight down a little bit. Or we get into our modifications, that's going to be the same idea there. Once I finish my 21 here, again, I'm off on a run. This time it's twice the size, 800 meters, or 2 laps of the track, or a half mile, however you want to look at that. So obviously our 400 is going to be a single lap of a track or a quarter mile. Once we get back, we're kind of going backwards back through. So we're on our thrusters for 21, we're back out on our run for 400, and then we are back on the pull-up bar for 50, okay? Obviously, there's a lot of, while there's not a lot of movement, there's a decent amount of equipment requirement here. So if we're going to a track, pull-ups might be a little more challenging. Kipping pull-ups for sure are going to be pretty challenging. So we'll talk about that in the modifications here. A lot of times tracks will have bleachers that have rails, so there might be an opportunity there to do some strict pull-ups. But if you really want to go at this, you're probably taking a barbell to the track with you, which may be fine depending on where you live. We'll hit more on that in a second.
Stay tuned for movement modifications.
Alright, so we're talking modifications here. Not a lot of movements, but the modifications could be kind of significant depending on how we're doing this, where we're doing this, stuff like that. So first I'm going to go over cardio. We're looking at 400, 800 meters on our runs. If we're talking rower in meters, we're looking at 500 or 1,000 for the guys, and then 400 or 800 for the ladies. If we're going to an assault bike, a Aerodyne, an Echo Rogue bike, we're looking at calories. In that case, we're looking at probably 40 and 80 for the guys, and then 28 and 56 for the ladies. If we're transitioning this to a Concept 2 erg bike, then our numbers are going to be in meters, and they're going to be the same, which is going to be 800 and 1600 for both guys and ladies. Now, let's go through these two pieces first, and then we're going to talk about the intent here and what the timing should sort of be. So on the pull-ups, if you guys are going to do strict pull-ups, meaning no kipping, no energy transfer, it's just straight strength, I would probably suggest one of two things. If you have a high comprehension of pull-ups, meaning you can do 10 unbroken, I would probably say just cut that number in half and go with 25. If you're under 10, let's just make it a little bit lower. Probably 21 would be a nice even number to match up with our thrusters, 15 to 20 maybe. If we cannot do 5 strict pull-ups, then I probably wouldn't do more than 15 here, okay? Now, if it comes to a modification, like we have our T-Rex straps over here, rings are hanging, we're doing a pull with much less body weight, or we're doing an inverted row, whatever grip, on a barbell on a rack, that's probably going to be something that's a little bit lighter, and obviously you guys can make it lighter, so you have options. You can get pretty flat, you can make it heavy, you can do less reps, or you can incline yourself, make yourself a little bit lighter, and then do the higher reps and maybe stick with the 50, okay? Now, time frame on this. We'll talk about the thrusters in a second, but the pull-up should take longer than the thrusters, okay? They should be harder than the thrusters to complete. They should take more out of you. You should be breathing harder finishing the pull-ups, kipping, than the thrusters, okay? So when it comes to modifying that, we want to make sure that is essentially more of a challenge to you than those 21 thrusters are going to be, all right? And it's also going to take more time than those 21 thrusters. For most people, in terms of how I'm looking at this, obviously an 800 meter run should take about twice as long as a 400 meter run. Those 50 pull-ups, especially the second half, should probably, for most people, people with high comprehension of pull-ups, not going to fall into this case, probably for most people should take longer than the 400 meter run, okay? The 21 thrusters should not take as long as the 400 meter run. So we're talking about what's taking longest: 800 meter run, 50 pull-ups, 400 meter run, 21 thrusters. Now, when it comes to the thrusters, if we have something that is close in weight and resistance to a 95-65 barbell, and if that is 2 dumbbells or 2 kettlebells, obviously we're going to stack them and go from there. If we need to modify this with a med ball, we can always go with a wall ball. Keep in mind, you guys can always do wall balls. They're going to be more challenging, but you can always do them without a wall. meaning we're coming down and we're going up into it, throwing that ball straight in the air and having to catch it come back down. Keep in mind it's going to put a little bit more stress on your neck because you're going to have to look straight up instead of looking at a wall. So you want to make sure you're not kind of flexing the traps and getting the neck all bunched up in there. All right, if we're looking single arm, this is going to come into play with similar kind of discussion as the pull-up modifications. I want to make sure that, one, this isn't becoming the longest piece, okay? But I also want to make sure that I'm not going to be beating the crap out of myself or making this super easy, right? So if, for say, this is a 15-pound dumbbell, this is going to be super light for me, in which case I honestly might do 21 of these on each side, okay? Now, having said that, I also have here a 35-pound dumbbell, which is going to obviously be much more challenging, in which case maybe I take that and I go 15 each side on these. Or maybe I'll just do 21 and I'll do 11 on one side, 10 on the other, and then when I go back down that pyramid, I'll mix it up and go the other direction with the reps. Obviously, if we're looking at only heavy versions of those, you can bring 21 down to maybe 15 or so, but at the same time, 21 isn't as significant as 50, so there's probably not going to be as much of a need for modifications there. What would I cap this workout at? Well, it's a hero workout, so I probably wouldn't cap it. Now, having said that, if you're worried about capping it, you probably need to modify it, in which case it's probably going to be the pull-ups because they're probably going to take you forever. So don't be afraid to bring that down.